Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're diving into something really fascinating, a series of spiritual communications that give us this incredible picture of our journey, through life, death, and what might come after. Let's jump right in. So let's just start with this one big question. What if? What if everything we experience here on Earth is just a tiny little stop on a much, much longer journey? I mean, really think about that. That's the core idea we're going to unpack together. All right, first up, let's talk about Earth. The source material has a really interesting take on something we all feel, right? Why is life here so often, a struggle? Why is it so full of drama? So according to these messages, the constant conflict and all the challenges we face, they're not random, not at all. The idea is that they're actually deeply rooted in millions of years of evolution. Think about it. Predatory, competitive, win-lose relationships have basically been hardwired into the fabric of life on this planet. That's where all the fear and hate apparently comes from. And this is where it gets really interesting. The source material kind of frames our whole existence as this big clash of opposites. On one side, you've got the material world, chaos, strict rules, what it calls an illusory duality. And on the other side, you have the world of spirit, all about oneness, total freedom, and this sense of divine guidance. Two completely different playgrounds. And that leads to this really core idea. The source says that what we call evil, all those negative forces, they only exist in material realms like ours. They're a product of the physical world. The moment you step outside of that into a purely spiritual realm, poof, it's just not there. Okay, so if life here is just a temporary drama, then what about the end of the play? What about dying? Well, this is where the source material really offers a radical new way of looking at it. You know that deep-seated fear of death that's so common in our culture? From this perspective, that's not some universal truth we all have to feel. It's actually presented as more of a cultural concept, something that comes from our modern scientific way of thinking. This idea that we are our physical bodies and that's it. When the body goes, we go. But get this, the source completely reframes that moment of transition. It's not a terrifying end. It's described as a gentle homecoming. This message here from a spirit entity named Ishgamar is just beautiful. It says you'll feel like a child, smiling and safe on its mother's lap. No judgment, just peace. So what does that homecoming actually feel like? What happens? Well, thankfully, the communications give us some pretty incredible firsthand accounts. Let's start with this one. It's from a soldier, Arthur Moose, who died suddenly back in 1945. He talks about everything going black, just his spirit floating in this dark, silent space for a long time. It really suggests that, especially with a traumatic death, the transition isn't always this immediate, peaceful thing. There can be a period of, disorientation. But then, look at this completely different experience. A man named Jemp describes his own mother appearing, looking just like she did when he was little. She just takes his hand and says, "Come on, it's time to go home." It's so personal, so gentle and loving. It really makes you think that the experience must be deeply tailored to each person. So this home they keep talking about, what is it actually like? Well, the communications paint a very detailed picture of a place they call Level 3, or sometimes Eden. And the details are just wow. They talk about a planet the size of Saturn called Eden or Marduk. It's lit by 3 suns, so it's never dark. It's home to 60 billion beings, humanoids, giants, gnomes, you name it. And get this, everyone there appears to be in their physical prime, like 25 or 30 years old. No sickness, missing limbs just regenerate. But, and this is a big but, while the physical struggles are gone, the mental and emotional challenges, they're still there. That part of the journey continues. And this quote from a spirit named Konstantin Radaev just sums it all up perfectly. He says, humans on Earth are like people sitting in a motorway service area, believing that little stop is their entire life. They completely forget about the incredible journey they were on before they pulled over. What a powerful way to put it, right? But here's the thing. The journey doesn't just stop in Eden. That's not the final destination. According to these communications, it's more like a home base, a place to rest, to learn, before the soul decides what it wants to do next. And that brings us to reincarnation. Now, the way the source describes it is really different from what you might have heard. It's not a punishment. It's not some karmic debt you have to pay off. It's a voluntary choice. It's a tool the soul uses to keep evolving, to learn every single possible human life experience. It's all about moving forward, not paying for the past. In the process of coming back, the the source gets wildly specific. It describes this whole procedure where a soul decides it's ready. Their spirit body is put into this tub-like device, and it gets younger and younger, shrinking from an adult to a baby all the way down to a single cell. And that cell is then transferred into a female body on Earth. Just incredible detail. And to cap that off, this message from a being they call technician makes one thing crystal clear. The journey is always forward. You don't go backwards. A human soul doesn't come back as an animal. It's all about progression, evolution, always moving ahead. Which, brings us to our final question for today. If we entertain this whole framework, if our challenges here are just temporary and our real journey is eternal, then what's the real point of all this? What's the true purpose of our little pit stop here on planet Earth?